My name is Lucas Pear, Suhei's husband, and I am an MD. The purpose of these videos that I'm making is really to celebrate and highlight the positive aspects of autism in women, specifically autism in my wife. That's not to say that there's not challenges, but I really just want to share with you the benefits that I've experienced by having a wife who is autistic. The last video, I discussed that I was going to make a video about how my autistic wife helped me to achieve a near perfect credit score. So let's jump right into it. There are really three major points that I can talk about that contributed to this near perfect credit score. And the first point that we're going to discuss is organization. So when it comes to organization, I think it goes without saying that you need to have it in order to be successful in any aspect of your life, especially finances. And for me personally, I was not organized. When I would receive different things in the mail, like bills, I didn't have a system. They would just kind of get randomly thrown into a pile of sorts, and I would get to them when I got to them. And I still had this same method of my finances when I met Suhei, and I was in charge of bills, and it really did not work out well. I did not do a good job with managing our finances because things were late. We were having late fees, so there were problems associated with it. So Suhei recognized this quickly, and she took over. And what she did, she already had an Excel spreadsheet with all her bills and expenses and everything, and she just really added my stuff onto that spreadsheet. So you understand, everything was very well outlined, all the expenses, everything had its own column and category, and then income, and everything was color coordinated, as you can imagine. If you know my wife, that goes without saying. Of course, everything is color coordinated. So that she knew whenever we had an expense, it would be on there, even the due date associated with whatever expense it was, and it was all there. So it made sure that everything was done in an organized fashion and laid out right there so we can see, so that we could have a balanced budget. So that brings us to point number 2, which is the budget. And in this circumstance, she legitimately just completely crushed it. And everyone knows that when income is tight, finances are tight, you really need to have a budget and stick to it. And it's really just about living within your means. And us personally, Suhei met me when I was entering medical school, so she was with me through medical school residency and so on. And there were some tough times where even our dinner was going to be she would get several boxes of Jiffy cornbread, fortify it with some carrots and celery, make it delicious with some spices. I mean, it was really good, but that's what we had for dinner on several occasions because that's what we had as far as finances. But the point is that she was always able to make ends meet with whatever budget we had. That's not to say that we were always just roughing it out, because Suhei is very creative and resourceful. So we would always still dress nice. We would get compliments on the way we dress. And that's even shopping at places like Ross and TJ Maxx. And those are the same places that we would also go for finding things like decorating the inside of our home or apartment, wherever we were living. And to this day, Suhei still uses some of those resources because she is able to combine high-end, low-end, and everything in between and still make it look good. So no matter what our finances have been in the past, she's always been able to utilize those things to the fullest so that we were still able to enjoy life no matter what our budget was. And this comes into play even when it comes to looking for a place to live. So she would always help us to find a place that's still within our budget, but comfortable and safe. So we made sure that our priorities kind of fit in with whatever our budget was as well. That brings us to point number 3, which is utilization of credit. And in case you're unaware, there are 2 major factors that go into your FICO credit score, which is payment history and amount of debt. And in this process, when it comes to utilization of credit, Suhei introduced me to a concept of just using credit cards that have benefits, meaning like points, cashback rewards, and that type of thing. So what she would do was basically utilize these credit cards kind of the same way that some people would use, say, like a checking account. So if we had a couple $100 in the account, she would not spend more than that on credit cards. And even things that are just our regular expenses and bills, she would put on auto pay associated with the credit cards so that everything would, as much as we could, I guess, go onto the credit cards. And then we would receive the rewards related to the credit cards, but at the end of the month, pay off the credit cards so that we still maintain the rewards, but we don't have the debt related to the credit cards, and therefore we don't have any interest accumulated in the process. And you can imagine over the course of, many years, 18 years in my case, that you use credit cards and pay them off immediately. That builds credit history. And then of course that allows lenders to then trust you to have more credit and extend you more credit. And that also improves your credit history over time as well. So in conclusion, there are really three main factors that went into this near perfect credit score, which is number one, organization. So Suhei organized everything beautifully on this Excel spreadsheet that we've been able to utilize over time. Two, having a budget. So because Suhei was organized and resourceful, we were able to live within our means and still have a life. And number three, utilization of credit, meaning utilizing credit cards to the best way in our benefit of still getting rewards, but without having that significant debt burden, and then building credit history in the process. And all of this resulted in my autistic wife helping me to achieve a near perfect credit score. If you're a loved one of an autistic person, please remember that this is a spectrum, meaning that some people are going to have challenges in different areas, they're going to excel in different areas, but having information, doing research about autism in general is what will help you and me to have insight into our loved one. The caveat is that the medical community is still learning about autism in general, so they're relatively limited with their information specifically for autism in women. So just take that with a grain of salt, but do the best you can to do research and to have that insight. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending this time with me and really celebrating the positive aspects of autism in my life. I look forward to the next time.